Core.
You are listening to Core, a show on Code Zero Radio that plays bands located in the Fox Cities, a show to find and discover new music. Hosted by Andy McNamara.
Welcome to Fox Cities Core on WCZR Code Zero Radio. If this is your first time tuning in, we are an interactive interview show here on WCZR. We air live every Saturday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. We encourage our listeners to call in, or if you're watching the live stream, you can also comment on the video. We will get to your questions. You can also listen to the audio of this live every Saturday morning on WCZR, Code Zero Radio. You'll want to download the Code Zero Radio app if you haven't already. You can get that in the App Store for your Apple or Android products. You can also listen on TuneIn or go to live.codezeroradio.com and listen to the live stream. My guest this morning is a singer-songwriter from the Green Bay area. She was the 2018 Nash Next finalist. Amelia Ford mixes soft soprano with raw grit in her 50-plus original pop and folk rock songs. Her long-awaited debut album, Wide, Wide Open, will be released on February 26th. We are joined by Amelia and her husband, Shawn. Welcome to Fox Cities Core on WCZR Code Zero Radio. This album that is coming out, Wide, Wide Open, it's one of the tracks on the album.
Yep.
How did you settle on the title of the album?
Yeah. That was a last-minute decision, honestly. Comical or not, I thought for a long time I would just want to call it Mediocrity. Again, comical or not. It appealed to me. And as an artist, you want to make decisions for you and not so much for other people. Mediocrity was a song that, we recorded live. It was a starting song. Excuse me. And also kind of the most dear song, maybe, on the album. And I thought it'd be nice and ironic, and it kind of gave me a mood, and then realizing that maybe that wouldn't be taken the right way, especially for a first album. So I looked at, maybe we'll make it a self-titled, and then that looked a little cumbersome as well. And so I was just looking for a song that embodied the spirit and still had a flow. Out Loud was a little wordy, and I couldn't imagine quite getting those words out clearly every time I wanted to talk about it. So Wide Wide Open seemed to check all those boxes in meaning and just the flow of the verbiage and everything.
When you were deciding to pick songs for the sequence, did Marc Golde provide any insight as far as maybe this song would be better left off the album, or maybe you should add this? Like, did you sort of play him a variety of tracks and then decide which ones you should work on, or did you kind of come in knowing which tracks were going to be part of this project?
I sent him 2 other songs in addition to the album that we settled on. And I don't know if we ever even talked about it. I don't know if he even remembers. I'd have to ask him. I sent him 2 other songs, and it just seemed like 10 was a good number, and we came in thinking probably these 10, and he didn't suggest anything different. So
you've got a full group of people on this album as well. Lots of people contributing. Was it kind of nice having people contribute different additions to the songs?
Yeah, I mean, it felt really special and strange and humbling, and at the same time makes you feel important or something, that people would come on and take the time, you think, to learn it. And when you hear them playing it or hear them singing it, and it's like they're playing that because it came from me first. It's just very personal.
As far as the band, you've got you obviously do a lot of solo shows. Is the band, how did you make up your band?
Yeah, I didn't. I was a solo act, sort of evolving from, goo at this music store. The ideas came to me, to the people around me, and I just started kind of playing as a solo and developing there. And I remember Scott Arthur, actually, he's the pseudo manager of the New London location, Island Music. And he directed me over to his brother. I didn't know at the time this was his brother. He's like, see that guy over there? That's Brian Arthur. You need to talk to him. And I'm like, okay. And so I went over and started talking to this Brian dude. And he didn't know me from Adam, and I didn't know what I was there to talk to him about. And we're just like, so. And we just kind of looked at each other. And that's when we both realized what Scott wanted that he didn't quite explain is, hey, my brother's a bass player. Talk to him. Start playing with him. So once we unraveled what was supposed to happen there, he jumped right in. Brian loves to play whatever chances he gets. He loves original music. So we started playing as a duo. And then as far as finding my drummer, Brian and I were just practicing at the store, and Kevin was sort of lurking around listening and just made a little comment of like, oh, if you want, then I think sometime I can add something to this. And I've never had a drummer. So, me three-ish years ago, freaking out, jumping out of my chair. Oh, when do you want to meet? When do you want to practice? Thinking I'm just going to grab this guy. And I think I scared him because he kind of grabbed onto the door and he's like, well, I'll see. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry I scared you. And he said, you didn't scare me. And I was like, I'm sorry I offended you for saying I scared you. Anyway, he ended up totally coming around enthusiastically, just jumped in. So it was all very organic and unplanned, and Kevin Lorenz. So.
Did that help, having the additional players, did that help sort of round out the songs?
Yeah. It was the first hearing of them worked out. You have what you have in your head, and
it's an apocalypse.
And it sounds friendlier than I thought the apocalypse would sound. Yeah, it was really cool. I don't think I gave the guys strong direction. I don't think I told them, hey, try to be this genre, or try to make it sound this way, or put this part here. We all just played around. So it's cool.
We, of course, are here with Amelia Ford. She's got a new album coming out in 1 week, about a week.
Yeah, 1 week.
And we're going to talk all about the new album. Of course, we're going to be taking questions. If you've got a question, leave it in the chat or give us a call. But I want to go back to the beginning. What got you into music? What was the spark that got you interested?
Sure. Music. Well, music as a general has always been in my life because I was born into a musical family. My mom has been looking for opportunities for me to sing since I was quite little. And so it's something I grew up doing and fighting with her on, but a lot of times submitting to and just singing as a little girl. As far as playing out and I guess making a thing of it, that actually came on through a bet with my sister. And I remember I was at this kind of whimsy, wild time in my life where I was just kind of open to whatever. And I remember my sister Becky saying to me, hey, I'll give you something if you agree to do this unknown thing that I'll tell you once you commit to it. It was totally blind. I don't even remember what I got in return for it, but it was like, hey, do this thing and you'll get something for it, but you get to know what it is later. And I said, sure. And she said, okay, you got to sing at the Cup of Joy open mic. My sister knew I wrote songs. I didn't really share them, and if I did share them, I didn't tell anybody they were mine. And so I was like, oh, well, looks like I'm stuck. We're playing at the Cup of Joy. Went there and did some songs, and that just, I think, opened up the idea that they could be played publicly. So I started talking to people and was like, hey, you could do this. And I was like, okay, I'm doing it because you said so, not because I feel ready,
So what instruments were you playing at that point?
Piano and guitar, and I did have some experience with style bass. So, but as far as my own songs, I think that night I shared 2 songs on guitar, 2 on piano.
Were you in lessons for those instruments, or was that something you just picked up?
Um, I had taken piano lessons in elementary school and it went pretty over my head. So, to be honest, this was really just a few years of experimenting and learning kind of basic chordings and how you can embellish that.
Yeah, I'm going to guess that your main songwriting instrument's guitar.
Yeah, I guess I would say main, or main as of late. I think earlier on, I kind of leaned more on piano.
Which, do you mind telling us where you grew up?
Yeah, Wapaka. So, some people know right where that is. It's got the famous house from Psycho, if you know that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, right on Main Street.
So how was the music? Was there a music scene in Wapaka?
There was, I think, a strong music appreciation at the high school in particular. They had a really good music program there. I did go to the high school there. They have a lot of choirs. They put on a musical every year, and good teachers. And I think, at least as of the last few years, I've seen an increase in just arts appreciation in Wapaka. So they have an Arts on the Square event that happens every year, and it seems like there's something there.
So what got you pulled into the Fox City scene in Appleton? Did you end up having a show or a performance here, or did you end up meeting somebody in the area?
I think it was through just connections with people. I mentioned Chopper bringing me in to meet Marc. Being connected with the Island Music Store, even though that's New London, they have a Neenah location, and there's kind of this swarm that jockeys between the two, so it's part of the scope. And of course I know, Ike, and I think that might be how I'm even here today, is Ike Arumba, so.
Well, we were going to talk about it later, but let's talk a little bit about Ike. So, you did a song with Ike called "Strange Love Thing."
Yeah.
A great duet. How did Ike pull you into this? And before you answer, I also want to plug Ike's show. He's got a show on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. It's called the Ike Arumba Show. If you haven't tuned in, you should. He's got a very high energy and very aggressively storytelling. It's a good show. You should check it out. The Ike Arumba Show. So the song "Strange Love Thing." How did you get involved with this? It's a great song, by the way.
Oh, cool. Thank you. I can't say too much of a thank you though. It's really Ike's song. So I didn't help him write it at all, but I did join him on it. I think I was just friends with Ike. I don't know if you've heard of Huckleberry Acres Campground.
Have not.
Outside of New London, and there was sort of a music jam that met there once a month. A few years back, and it was faithful, and it was a good turnout of musicians that would show up, and met Ike there, and sort of became acquaintance friends, and he gave me some ideas and thoughts on direction and things I could do upcoming, and I think at some point just asked me if I'd jump in on the song with him.
How was that the recording feeling for that one? Because was that your first recording you've done?
It was my first recorded song with Marc, and I had dabbled around with some things with Tim Dorsey before that, but this was the first song that was going to be a full production song and go out somewhere, so it was intimidating in that way. But honestly, I had a lot of fun in the studio because Ike was so encouraging. I mean, as I was working out just how to get these lines in a way that, fit his vision for the song, and I'm kind of trying this, trying that. We're doing some different takes, and every time he was positive, and he was like, "You got this," and I didn't even ask for that encouragement, and it was like he knew me, and he was just all about it, and I was like, I feel like I can't screw up here. I feel like I can't do wrong here because he's just so positive. So that was a really good experience.
Did that make it easier when you went in to record wide open, just kind of being familiar with the studio?
Yeah, definitely some familiarity, and standing there and singing Mediocrity full production when I had already stood there and sang it acoustic. So,
Do you remember your first thoughts walking into Rock Garden? When you walked in those front doors, do you remember what you were thinking?
yeah, well, my first thought was, oh, there's purple in here. There's right when you walk in, there's purple. That was cool. It was just big. It was really big. And I think, being escorted in there as well was kind of like, am I meeting the president or it was big for me. I'm a sheltered girl, and that's can't hide that. And so it was a big deal. It was cool.
We're going to talk a lot more about the new album, and we're going to talk about the shows coming up. But first, it's time for our very popular segment of Fox Cities Core. It's called Band Reaction. And if you're not familiar with this, we play a clip, a question or a statement from a previous guest, and then we get your reaction. Now, this one's a special one because this was a question from our guest last week, Julia Blair, posed to you. She's got an album coming out on the 24th, and so you want to grab that one as well. But this is Band Reaction. Band Reaction. Band Reaction.
Hello, Amelia. I would like to know, what are you most proud of?
Wow. This is the part where I answer the question?
Yep.
Oh, if it was just reactions. Oh, wow.
It's a simple question, but really it is like
Yeah.
a deep question.
Gosh. By the way, your voice sounds fantastic through these. I just had to tell you that. Wow. Okay, what am I most proud of? Honestly, I think it's just that I'm here singing at all. To be honest, there's so many different things I could point to that I feel fortunate for. I'm really proud of the obstacles I've worked through vocally, and I have for about 3 years been working daily, once in a while missing a day, but working daily on my voice. And I feel like that's something that I've had to earn, and I'm not done earning, but there's a long story there, and I'm like, that's something I've had to work for.
If only we had time, huh?
I know.
What was the hardest part about starting out in the music business? Is it getting shows? Is it getting noticed? What, in your opinion, what's the hardest part?
I actually think it was not something so much outside of me. It was more something inside of me, taking myself seriously. Going places, and I would always think, oh, I've successfully tricked everyone tonight. They think I'm a singer, I remember going to some of my first gigs and feeling like, I don't know, I had this perspective that everyone could sing and play. And I was like, why would someone pay me to do this? It was just getting my head to shift into, believing in myself, taking it seriously.
With the album coming out, does that feel does that help with validation? Because you're going to have an album out now under your name that you'll hopefully be able to find like in the exclusive company and all these other places where you've probably bought music from in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, we have. I hadn't thought of that. That's cool. I wasn't expecting to see it in Walmart, I think that the album's nice because it gives you something to point to, but I think just with the time spent gigging the last few years, that helped me feel some degree of validation just because of the time spent. But it's nice to look at the album and you have something to physically point at that represents, at least what people expect out of you, probably expect by this point. They've been asking me, do you have... where can I find you? Do you have some music? And to have to say no so many times, yeah, it was limiting. So.
Is this going to be something that is going to be on Spotify and Apple Music, or are you going to just have it on CD?
No, we're gonna have it streaming on all the platforms on the 26th. I don't know if we've picked a time, but starting on the 26th, and of course they can be purchased in physical form at shows, or we have an online store going as well if people want to order a physical copy.
Was it hard when you're putting together the CDs? I think the photography was primarily done by Dave Jackson. Is that correct?
Yes.
Was it difficult putting the CD together? Did you guys do that yourself, or did you find somebody to put it together for you?
We took his photos and basically made it ourselves. He started out with great photos and made it easy. That was nice. And really just using, different websites to, crop pictures together, and it was self-designed and just talking between the two of us mostly. So, yeah.
Are the lyrics going to be in the CD?
They are. It was a tight fit, and so I had to do the kind of abbreviated version. So, unless you know the song, once you've passed the chorus, you have to make yourself jump back up and find it again. So, they're condensed in the album, but we're gonna have the lyrics laid out top to bottom and easy to read on the website.
But it was a little bit of work because we actually sent the CD in to get made, and they sent it back to us, and they're like, "Your font's too small. Like, we can't print a font this small." And so we had to stretch some things and really get it so that we could get all of the lyrics for the album in the booklet.
Yeah.
And still fit in there, and have the production company say, "Hey, we can print that. That's okay." But it was a little bit of work.
Did you do thank yous inside there as well?
Yeah, right in the front cover.
Was that a stressful job, trying to make sure you didn't forget anybody?
It wasn't so much forgetting, it was thinking of everyone and feeling like junk before you start, because you can't thank everyone you want to, and there are still some names that come to mind that it bothers me, it makes me cringe, and I just wish I would have had more space. So
The show, I want to talk about the CD release show. It's going to be at the Appleton Beer Factory on the 26th. What should people do? Are tickets available in advance for that show?
They were. Actually, we recently just had a little change of plans, and the act that was joining us is not coming right now. So I'm going to be doing that show all by myself with my guys and Woody Larson. And we've changed it to a suggested donation at the door. If somebody's already bought tickets, then when they come in, they'll get a free drink token, something to acknowledge what they've already paid for.
So that just means we get more Amelia Ford.
Yeah. Well, I do feel a bit of like, I'm an involved person. I talk a lot, and there's a lot of depth in the songs, and so I feel a sense of relief now, almost like maybe I can really get into some stuff if the crowd's feeling it and not feel so pressed for time.
Is this band a band you've used before? Has this particular band played together before, or is this going to be the first time in public that this particular lineup is playing together?
Oh, the first time for this exact group of people. It's pretty close to my regular group of guys, but had Woody Larson come in on lead guitar, and my normal lead is Bruce Lorenz, and he wasn't able to make that night. And additionally, since this show was about the album, Woody played by far just about all the lead parts on the album, so we thought it'd be a more seamless getting that album out there represented. So
Woody's a phenomenal guitar player.
Right?
Was he somebody that Marc suggested add to the album, or was Woody somebody that you knew prior?
I didn't know Woody. That was Marc's prompting, and it just shows you kind of the learning process for me, because I went in there with a drummer and a bassist and myself, and not aware of how much the songs maybe cried for a lead part, and Marc heard that, and it was like, we're getting this guy in here. So
that's really cool. So the 26th, the Appleton Beer Factory, just the Amelia Ford Band, which I'm looking at it as a positive.
Yeah.
The album will be available there if people want to
Yes.
purchase it at the show. What time does the show start?
8 o'clock now. So
Okay,
we've bumped it up a little bit. I think we're going to run like an 8 to 10 show.
Great. And then you've got just a ton of other shows planned. I'm just going to throw it up on the screen quickly here. It's the amount of shows you've got scheduled is mind-blowing to me. I mean, looking at it, so the viewers can see right now, you've got a very busy, and these are only the shows through June. You've got a lot planned in June, May, but still, you should try to make it to the CD release show and a couple of these, because you'll be hooked.
Well, I have a confession, too. There's some that aren't on there. I need to update that calendar. So, bookings are continually happening, so there are some that are not on there, but I'll try to get that updated quickly.
We've got a question here from Andrew Summers. He's the lead singer for the band Tuck. We had them on last week. Great band. They've got a live stream taking place this Sunday on Facebook that you can actually purchase and then watch the stream online, watch the show online. They're playing their full Stereo City album, but he's got a question for you. He says, in today's world of streaming, with streaming being dominant, how do you justify physical CDs? He says that he loves having the physical object, whether it's a CD or vinyl or even a cassette or a USB output, but he feels part of the minority who still, and then there's dots. So I don't know if it got too long, but how do you feel about physical CDs in a world where it seems everything's going digital? Thank you, Andrew, for the question.
Sure. Obviously, it's a risk because you're purchasing product that now you need to either sell or count as a loss or whatever, at least money-wise. But it seems like a totally valid move, at least for me, because I don't have a huge online presence. I haven't been pushing that as my primary. As you just mentioned, I have a full schedule of shows, all in state and even more local to home for me this year than previous years. And where I really see the interest for my album is at a show, is after a show. I normally always get a person or a few people coming up to me saying, hey, if you had an album, I would have bought one tonight. And so I'm really looking forward to this upcoming year knowing, another busy summer. This time I get to say I have an album. And I don't want to set my expectation too high, but I do think we'll sell some. There are people that apparently still have a way to play a CD. I don't. I don't even have a way to play. But some people maybe in their cars or wherever, they still want one. And I think too, the pictures, it's like they want a piece of who you are because you've made an impression.
Yeah, I think that, making the CD, we really allowed Amelia to show some of her true artist self, and not just as a musician, because there's so much of her that's an artist, and the way that she could, like she said, take these awesome photos from David Jackson and, touch them off and put on the right sort of things to make this album look like something you want to have. There's so much. I mean, album art it's like a category of art unto itself, and so to make something that is visually striking and appealing and makes you want to pick it up and hold it and look inside and see what could be waiting for me in here. And also it is the form to, get music to the people that want to hear it. It's a great format, and I know that, like you said, digital is paving the way right now, but there's still especially room for art where people want and love art.
Thank you for the question, Andrew. And again, you can check out Tuck's live stream this Sunday. We had another question from Jerry. He says, hi, Amelia, 2 questions. What instruments can you currently play, and what instruments would you like to learn? That's the first question. I'll let you do that one first.
Okay. Can currently play guitar, piano, and just basically one style of bass. Um, what I would like to learn. I had considered this a bit of a deep, dark secret, but here we go. Um, I would like to learn drums. And I'm tempted, not that I know, but I'm tempted to say it's got to be one of the hardest instruments to be and sound competent with. So it seems like a big thought, but it's always kind of bugging me. And after that, gosh, cello? I don't know, something showy, something something that's even a little not as typical would be cool. It just, you see someone with a cello and you just want to look at them, and it's dramatic and beautiful, and yeah, that'd be my answer.
I really thought you were gonna go with hammer dulcimer here.
Oh,
But sorry.
the sitar.
The second part of Jerry's question is, if Ike Arumba was one of Snow White's 7 dwarfs,
Oh,
which one would he be in your opinion?
oh my gosh, now I gotta remember the dwarves. Okay.
Well, he's not bashful, I can tell you that.
He's not. There's, oh my gosh. Is it Dopey? I just have
I
to.
don't think it's dopey either.
But I have to say, the part in the movie where Dopey comes back and tries to get the second kiss. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
he takes his hat off, and she holds his little ears. And do you guys remember this?
I've drawn a blank here.
I'm visualizing this.
Okay, so it is real.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and I can see Ike maybe coming back for a second kiss. So I just have to say that.
I feel like overall he's maybe a little more Doc though.
Yeah. Okay.
Doc with that tinge of Dopey's just go get him sort
Yeah.
of attitude.
Yeah.
Thanks for the question, Jerry. It's an interesting one to hear.
That was good.
What bands influence you? What artists influence you?
Oddly enough, not many. That surprises people. They think, you're a musician, so you know a lot of music, and you don't know how many times I get people coming to me saying, they'll bring up some artist name. Oh, you know what I'm talking about. Oh, you know. And I'm like, I don't know who you're talking about. So I've had very limited music exposure. I think somebody who's been influential, later in my life is Alanis Morissette. I have taken the time to really delve into her albums, all of them, pretty extensively. And that wasn't until, somebody said this name to me I couldn't repeat. And they said, you sound like this person. And I'm like, who is that? And I looked her up, and I really fell in love with her lyrics and her spirit and stuff. So that was due to prompting, but she has been influential to me.
Did you see the documentary on her? I think it's on HBO. It's like a year or two old.
No.
Okay. You might like it.
Yeah.
It's kind of goes over her history of the iconic album. It was Jagged Little Pill.
Yeah.
And the whole tour that followed and the craziness that came about. But it was interesting. You
Yeah.
have to add it to your list. So Alanis Morissette is the main.
Yeah, probably.
Do you find yourself, when you do have to listen to music, do you find yourself picking out little things that maybe you want to incorporate into your music? Do you listen to music on Spotify? Do you listen to it on the radio? Do you not listen to any music at all? Any time when you're not playing?
I don't listen to music on the majority. When I do, I'll pull it up on YouTube normally. I think that music certainly triggers thoughts for writing, and I always want to be careful not to just, you don't want to just duplicate stuff, because there's no point to that. And sometimes I wonder, could I be duplicating something I've never heard of, due to just kind of the limited exposure. But I think that I just I don't like music playing all the time, because there's already a lot of, at least, thoughts in my head, if not music in my head, and it gets overwhelming. So what I will do, if I want to clean or get something done around the house, is just play snippets of poorly recorded concepts I've already thought of and kind of muse through them.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
You mentioned YouTube, which it's interesting. I was having a discussion with Bob Minter and the indie show a few days ago. We're talking about how more and more people are listening to music on YouTube, and that's just kind of confirmed it right there.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just listening to the songs that they put up, or is it like watching music videos? Like, how exactly are you consuming on YouTube?
I'm not normally watching. I'd rather imagine the song than have a video try to make me think about it a certain way. That's just me. But I don't necessarily think I'm typical either. Most people I know are on Spotify. I mean, I'm kind of a weirdo for not being, snooping around on Spotify, and I have some. I think if I did that, I would want to get the premium. Really, really start making playlists and get into it. I think Spotify is a hard thing to just get into a little, because it doesn't have time to bring around all the songs you really want to hear.
And Shawn, I kind of cut you off. You were saying something before. I apologize.
Oh, that's all right. There is music in our house a fair amount, like actually quite a bit. And anytime Amelia's working on a song, she's going through the process of doing a rough recording and then playing it and playing it and playing it basically all day and maybe a couple days in a row and really immersing herself in that singular song sometimes and hearing every bit of it every way she can so that she can either work through something melodically or maybe there's a lyric line that she just isn't quite right yet. And there's so many times that there are songs that I'll find myself like singing or humming the tune to, and I'll be like, oh, what song is that? And like I'll go over to Amelia finally because it'll be driving me nuts. I get songs stuck in my head, and I'll be like, what is this? And I'll hum it, and she'll be like, oh, that one doesn't have a name yet. And I was like, but you played that for like 12 hours last week. And she's like, yeah, it doesn't have a name yet. So, but yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah. I have my streaks of that for sure. It's true.
Well, I think it's about time to play a video. And I want to mention that this is a exclusive that you provided to the Avenue, 91.1. This was shot by Rock Garden Studios and Marc Golde. Can you tell me a little bit about what how you guys decided to go out and start filming? It looks like it's filmed around Appleton.
Yeah, sure. We had a different idea at first, and I think Marc mentioned something about doing a black and white something or other conceptually, but
because the song is called
right.
Ivory and Ivory and Ebony.
Yeah. Right. But I think then it just kind of clicked that we were coming up on what really was going to be the last nice day of the year. And it was a super nice day, and it was kind of like we're idiots if we don't at least try to get something outside. So we just kind of winged that, and he had the idea of going up to the I can't think right now.
Parking garage.
Yeah, parking garage. And that was an awesome idea because, you don't have time to go find a real skyscraper somewhere and give you that, lost in the sky feeling. So
I thought it turned out really good. It's a really good song, too. Can you tell me what the meaning of the song is or what inspired the song?
Sure. It was fairly accidentally written. But I guess it's about coming out of an abusive relationship and realizing that that I am strong, that I have something to me on my own. That would be the short version of that song. I think a lot of people can relate to that, but certainly some people relate to it, hard. They've really been in a dark place, and so they can really connect with this song.
Did you have any shows last night?
I actually didn't, and that was atypical. I played on Wednesday and playing tonight, so we didn't have to go anywhere last night.
then you had to get up and come here today.
Darn, Andy.
Oh, and I wanted to ask you, I've got this on my list of notes here before I forget. You currently live in Seymour, is that correct?
That's right.
All right. The alleged home of the hamburger.
Oh yeah.
Have you been to the Hamburger Hall of Fame?
I mean, as a child, I have been to the Hamburger Hall of Fame. It's been around the whole time. I don't know if I've been to the most recent iteration of the Hamburger Hall of Fame, because they did a big fundraiser and redid the whole thing and spiffed it up nice. But they've got hamburger memorabilia in there, the sorts of things that you didn't know existed in the world about hamburgers. They have it in there, along with the story of like how Seymour became the home of the hamburger, the history of their like world's largest hamburger, world's largest cheeseburger, all that. Like they've still got the grill outside that they cooked the giant hamburger on. And I remember, growing up in Seymour, I remember taking home, we got like sheet pans of burger after this first big celebration, because they had so much, like they couldn't feed people enough. Like there just weren't enough people. Like if all of Green Bay and Appleton came out to Seymour that day, they probably would have gotten rid of it. But it was not as big as there, at least it is now. And yeah, sheet pans of just 3-inch thick hamburger
Sounds
to take
so good.
home to slice up. And yeah, it was. Yeah, I remember all those things. So.
Shawn, you do, I mentioned it at the top of the show, it sounds like we could have had some audio issues there, but you're Amelia's husband, and you also do sound for Amelia?
Yeah, at her solo shows and very sparsely at a band show that I'll run sound for. And I think it's, it's not something maybe super necessary or something you see all the time with a solo performer, but I think just to be there to make sure levels are always good, that things are always balanced, to throw a couple extra effects on here and there throughout that show course, to just make sure that the listening audience is getting the best of whatever they can of her, because that's what I'd want to hear if I was at a show, and that's what I want people to hear of her, because she's got it, and they just need to be able to hear it. So it's been interesting and fun, and lots of learning curve, and lots of really helpful people helping me out along the way to get to just be able to handle it. And then new gear and all these like so I'm doing this all off my phone now, and like I won't get into it right now, but like at a show, I feel like almost every show I sit down and talk to someone about these new like wireless mixers and all the stuff that they can do, and how it's a solo show, but we're running like a full rack of gear off this wireless mixer for less than $300, and it's like even 20 years ago this would have been, there's no way. And then no snake, no board, no none of that. It's pretty great. It's so user friendly now.
Well, it's got to be nice for Amelia too to have somebody doing that that you're comfortable with. So if you don't have a problem, if something sounds off, saying to Shawn, hey, can you adjust this? Or the fact that Shawn just knows you so well too that he'll know what you need before you need it, which is, I think, great. We had a question come in here, and it actually goes kind of hand in hand with something I was going to ask you about. You did in, I think it was 2020, or I could be wrong. You did it was like an hour-long live web stream for the Grand at Home. Mm-hmm. They call it the Grand at Home. The question, I think, goes with that, because the question is from Troy O'Shea. Do you get nervous before playing live? If so, how do you prepare mentally? And I guess you can answer that generally, and then also tie it in with something like that 60-minute stream show for the Grand.
Yeah. I don't very often get nervous when I'm playing, but I think when I do, and I do sometimes, it kind of splits into two categories. And one is like, I'm nervous because I feel some sense of shame. And that's just probably not anything going on around me. I'm just for some reason feeling inadequate, feeling like an imposter, something like that. So that can kind of mimic what people would see as nervousness. And then I think there's another kind of nervous which is good, and that's just like being in the moment. I noticed this when I played at Gibson Music Hall recently. I was like, wow, these people are listening to me. And it was so special and it was overwhelming. And I played there a few times, and I think one time it maybe was more like nervousness, and another time just an appreciation. But that realization of where you are, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Why is anyone listening to me? It's amazing. You know, it's a lot more of attention than maybe, common person's used to. So as far as the Grand, that video was, well, it was a video. It was different because there wasn't anyone in the background. I had Marc in the booth listening to me, and I want to impress him if that's ever possible. So there's a little of that going on. But really, it was my first time looking into the camera face, the lens, and feeling strange. Like, I don't know how many people see this. So you don't know if you're singing and talking to 10 or what would eventually be 1,000 people. And so that was the first camera experience in that way. So I was just thinking about, I don't know how far this would go.
Did it rile the nerves? I mean, just being on that stage to start out with, it's a bigger stage. Do you feel more comfortable like in a smaller space as far as playing? Or when you get into somewhere that big, does it make it a little harder to sort of feel? I mean, you're obviously more exposed on a big stage.
Sure. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Rigoletto. It's like a really old school, like 1992 obscure movie, but it has a music theme, music storyline. And I remember the main character, she was advised when she had to go to a singing competition, and the man said, "Don't let the stage scare you, frighten you, let it inspire you." And I saw that movie when I was a kid, and I think somehow that always stuck with me. Is it's terribly inspiring. I mean, the worst is to sing in a carpeted place where you feel like you're, I don't know, in a house, or, and home shows are special, so I don't mean that they're not valuable. But as far as the inspiration, when there's a lot of space around me, that's when I feel the most safe. Like, I just love the space in it, and it just feels like it takes you into something.
Interesting. That's probably what made Rock Garden so nice to record at, too.
Right? That was super fun, and it's got that natural reverb because of the room, so.
We only have like 6 minutes left,
Yeah.
so I wanted to ask you some quick questions about the new album.
Okay.
Is there a track that is your favorite on the album? And I guess I could pose the same question over to Shawn.
Oh, man. Well, to get through this, get into the 6 minutes here, I think just sound-wise, I like Ivory and Ebony because I like music that's jam-packed and just full, and I love full production, and my tendency is to always want to add more, and so I love the noise in that song. Gosh, and then I would maybe pick, I'd probably pick a second one for even just meaning, and I really like track number 1, Kiss Your Pride, which you guys will hear soon. But I think just thinking about where I was to write that, and that's again coming out of an abusive relationship. Wow, what a discovery late in life to realize that you have your own strength. And so as far as meaning, I value track number 1.
So it would be hard for me to pick the tracks specifically because I've heard all these songs in so many different incarnations and what they've been throughout the years, and to finally hear them on the album. But my favorite song probably on the album is Mediocrity. That one, I remember that one sticking out to me the first time that I heard it, the first time that I met Amelia, when she was playing a little place for 4 hours for tips when I walked in
Yeah.
the wrong door, I think, and found her, and was just really captivated by that song and always have been.
So you met Amelia at a show, at one of her shows.
Yeah, we had talked online beforehand, but I physically met her at a show. It was like a low-key pre-date sort of thing. Yeah. So
This is cool. I was unaware of this.
Yeah.
So not only did the music, it gives you something to do together and bond with now, but that's how you guys met. That's awesome.
definitely.
Oh, yeah.
So not to look too far ahead, because this album hasn't even come out yet, but once this album comes out, are you going to feel the pressure to do album number 2?
You know, I've been fantasizing and creating albums 2, 3, and 4, already, before this moment. There's always been a lineup. So I don't know. As far as external pressure, I think people are mostly just excited and, in a sense, able to exhale now because they've been waiting for this thing. So I think that'll be a lot to chew on when they finally get it. But I'm already thinking about the others.
Is there a show coming up besides the album release show that you're most excited to do this summer?
As far as summer, I'm not sure. I'm playing some new venues, and that's always exciting. It just feels like an opportunity just to try and make a good impression and maybe have another place to return to. Prior to summer, I am excited about the August Haven live performance. I believe that's slipping my mind now, end of March 24th, I think. So that'll be in Appleton, and that's brand new for me. That's kind of a big deal. So,
can you explain a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, I don't know for certain. I haven't, been to one or seen one myself yet. But it's been explained to me that there will be some interviews beforehand. I'll do a live show. I'm doing it solo acoustic this time anyway. And I'll play to a live audience, and we'll also record part of that show, not the entirety. So there'll be just some conversation and then part of the show available later on, and then the live show.
Great. Well, I want to thank you both for coming on this show and talking for a full hour. I know that's kind of a long time, but I feel that we got to get to know you both, which is great. Next week on the show, we've got Leading the Blind, which is a hard rock band out of the Appleton area, and then we've got shows coming up booked all the way through April. So definitely tune in next week. Definitely go to the album release show for Wide Open on the 26th at the Appleton Beer Factory. Again, that's at 8 o'clock at night. And Amelia's going to have the full band there, and it'll be your first chance to hear the full album in its entirety and then walk out with a copy when you leave. So thank you again. And if people want to find out more about you, where's the best place to go?
Of course, I'm on Facebook, if that's an easy hub for everybody. Amelia Ford Music. The same for Instagram. But I do have my own website going now, ameliafordmusic.com. So just whatever's more convenient.
Great. Amelia, Shawn, thank you so much.